I'm McKinney Smith. In 2009, while going through a divorce, I decided to jump straight into entrepreneurship. In 2012, I lost my sister and asked myself, what legacy do I want to leave behind? Since then, I've become a serial entrepreneur, helping other women publish their books, produce their podcasts, and reach their big goals to walk in their greatness. I realized the importance of sharing our stories of resilience and how it can be another's guide to walk in a manner worthy of their calling. We are blessed to be a blessing, so get ready to be blessed with an inspiring testimony. Hey, Legacy Leavers. Thank you for joining us on the Walk in My Stilettos podcast, the top 1.5% most popular show globally, where we have conversations with extraordinary women that are letting us step into their shoes. I help women own their voice to create impact, prosperity, and legacy. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but I'm more interested in her backstory and her mindset and how she got there. Today's guest is about to bless us with her testimony, and since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. Today we have Myracle Holloway. Myracle Holloway is a gospel inspirational vocal artist who is best recognized for having been a contestant on season 17 of The Voice, performing under Gwen Stefani's team. And she was eliminated in 11th place. She's also recognized for her popular songs, Hello God, It's Me, and Get Here. Her goal is to use her music as a platform to inspire others and let them know they can overcome any adversity. Most importantly, she wants them to know there is a God who loves them, and it doesn't matter who they are, what they've done, or where they've been. God has a purpose and plan for their lives.
Hey, hello everybody. Hello everyone. I'm so glad to be on this show. Thank you for having me, sis.
I'm so excited for us to have this conversation and so grateful that you agreed to come on and share your story with us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that I'm able to come on here and share my story as well, because I'm sure there's some golden nuggets, some things that I will speak on that can help somebody else or give someone else some insight.
Absolutely. I mean, you have an amazing story from everything that I've seen online and Googled and heard about. So I can't wait for the ladies that are listening to hear, how you overcame those obstacles and, the tools and your foundation for persevering. I first came across your Instagram page. Well, okay. So I'm going to say now I'm like, I can't remember if it was 2 years ago, but I had someone share your Instagram page with me. And at the time you were a contestant on The Voice. And they were just telling me that, I need to have you on the podcast. I need to get connected with you and have you on the show. So it's been a while that I've been following you. And like I said, I know that your testimony is going to be powerful for the ladies that are listening. So I'm excited to just jump right in.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I've been singing pretty much my entire life. My entire family sings, and for me, music has been an outlet. It's just music for me has always been a safe place because of growing up. When I grew up in a very dysfunctional home, so I always found that music was just a place that kind of it calmed my spirit. It just calmed me, and it's just been in me ever since I was a kid. So I've been blessed to sing. I sang background for Earth, Wind & Fire and toured with them and danced behind them, touring, going to Japan twice, 20 different states. I've done a lot of singing competitions, and then I made it on to The Voice. And it was so funny because with The Voice, I didn't even want to audition for The Voice. They found me on Instagram.
Oh, wow. Okay, wait. So before we unpack all of that, okay, so I can't wait to, get to the story of how you got on The Voice and, everything that you're doing now. So let's rewind before we get to where you are presently. Well, I guess as an icebreaker question, I love to ask the women that come on the show what they wanted to be when they were a little girl, because I find that, as kids, we have these vivid imaginations and these fantasies of what we want to be and who we want to be before society starts to limit us, or we're hurt by things that, cause us to fear going down a certain route or what have you. So I would love to know first what you wanted to be when you were a little girl.
Always a singer. Always a singer. Especially when I heard Whitney Houston for the first time. I remember I was on my skates. I had just came from one of the corner stores to get in some candy. I had my dilators in my little paper bag and some other candy. And I had my headphones on. That's when we had the Walkmans back then. And I was skating, and I heard Whitney Houston. I heard that song for the first time, Saving All My Love for You.
Mm-hmm.
And I dropped my bag. I was like, who is this? That was like she put a stamp. There was like this stamp of approval. Like when I heard her, I was like, I definitely want to sing.
Mm-hmm.
So I always grew up hearing my grandmother sing and my mother sing, because my grandmother, she sang with a well-known group called the Honey Drippers. So I come from a musical background, and then my mom, she would always walk around the house singing. And
wow.
She used to always sing this Stephanie Mills song. I can't even think of the name of the song. But anyway, when I would hear them, and then when I heard Whitney, it was over. It was like, this is all I want to do. I want to sing. That's all I wanted to do. And then from singing in church, I sang a solo in church. I was like 7 years old. I remember that song. It was Look to Jesus. And after I got through singing, people were coming up to me and saying, "You're so anointed." I didn't, as a kid, I didn't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
For some people who had tears in their eyes, and I was like, wow, touching people with my voice. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sing. That's all I ever wanted to do was sing.
Wow. And we are so grateful that is what you wanted to do. That was what you decided to do, because your voice is like butter. It is so smooth. Like,
Thank you.
You've always wanted to sing from you were a little girl. So I would love to know, like, what were you like as a teenager?
Ooh. A kid, teenager, even though I sang, I was always so rough. I was such a tomboy. Mm-hmm. And then we get back just when I was a kid, like kids. So we're gonna have to go back in order to get to the teenager, because even though I sang, I always played sports. So I always thought I was going to. Sidebar, I always thought I was going to be in the WNBA. Like, I loved basketball. From when I was a kid, I was very good in sports. Basketball, I was all city. I was MVP. Like, all growing up, like, basketball was my thing. Like, wow. You could not be in basketball. So,
wow.
Sports and stuff like that. So singing, yes, was always what I wanted to do, but I played sports. So, my sister Star, so she'll give the credit of me with her sports, because that's what sports was another thing for me. But as growing, I was going back, so why I brought that up, because I was such a tomboy. I didn't hang well with the girls, but I always hung with the guys. It was just like, I wasn't girly enough, so I couldn't be with the girly girls. So I was just always hung with the boys. I was such a tomboy. Used to wear baggy clothes because I didn't want anyone looking at me. So cross colors, when they were out, I was always rocking the cross colors because they were the big baggy pants and stuff like that.
I love that. So, I love that you got into music, but I love, the tomboy side of things. Like, I've always been a huge tomboy. So I totally relate to what you're saying about, hanging with the boys and not being girly enough to hang with the girls.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your sister LaStar. I had her on episode 59, sharing her story. And, you both are so blessed. And I know that, sometimes when we come into this world, our beginnings may not be so great, but it doesn't determine what our future can be and what it will be, because you both have such amazing gifts in your own areas of expertise. Just definitely wanted to point that out.
Thank you. So I'll just be candid. I haven't shared this. So with my mom, with me while she was pregnant, like my mom, she used substances. She used like everything. And so what was popular in the 80s and things like that. Even though I was born in the 70s, my mom, she was messing with a lot of stuff. So through her pregnancy with me, I had all that in my system. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm still, so I've gone through therapy. I did therapy once for quite a while, but I'm even back in it now just to deal with a lot of traumatic stuff that happened as a kid and teenager
Mm-hmm.
that I just didn't even deal with as a kid. So it caught up to me. How a person who is who who wasn't born into that stuff, or they kind of had a normal life, they don't have to work as hard as, like, there are some things that I just have to work a little harder at because, like, I go through depression. I've got a lot better. But there are times like where it's just I go through depression and I don't even want to be depressed, and I chose not to take anything for it. I
Mm-hmm.
try to deal with it, and a lot of it has to do even with the diet and things like that, with what I'm putting in my body. But it was just hard growing up. Like, I was one of the kids. Like, even though I could be sweet and you see me smiling, I was that kid behind my smile, but I was always fighting. You know what I mean? I don't even know why I was fighting. I'm sure now as I've gotten older, because I grew up, with that. My mom and my grandmother always arguing. They weren't physically abusive to each other or anything like that, but my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother did a lot of things of how she was with my mom, with some of the things, because she was upset with her with things from my mom's childhood and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad was very abusive. He was a drug dealer and a pimp. And my mom was 17 and my dad was 30 something. So go
Wow.
figure. So it was just, having to deal with a lot of stuff. I know you asked about my teenage life, but this leads into it. So
Totally understand. Go ahead.
as a kid, like 5 years old, I remember before I went to bed, my mom was there. Woke up the next morning, she was gone. So she had me when she was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. She was only 22,
Mm-hmm.
and but she left. I know that she had left, and that was it. Just that your mom was gone. So I'm forming my own thoughts. Like, you left me, you don't love me,
Yeah, you're dealing
and
with
what it was.
abandonment issues.
Yeah, but it was because of my dad. He was very abusive, and so then my dad had me for a few months and was taking care of me and everything. And then next thing I know, hey, you live with your grandparents. I can't raise you anymore. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it was really traumatic, a lot of traumatic stuff. So having to go live with them, even though my grandparents were great, my grandmother, I didn't know anything about God, church, or anything until I went to live with my grandparents. But at that young age, there was a lot, that abandonment. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, now my dad, okay, you don't want me, that rejection, you know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah.
a lot of that I was dealing with. And though my grandfather, he was more of a very chill, just fun person. My grandmother, I loved her. She was sweet, but she was more strict, you know what I mean? But I
Mm-hmm.
know that's the best for me and everything. And she didn't even have to raise me. I could have been going to some in a foster home and things like that. So fast forward, my grandparents, they raised me off and on. I would be with my mom and on the weekends and stuff like that. But I just grew up with my mom, going to visit my mom in rehab and things like that. Just her not showing up to her or my dad not showing up to my events and stuff that I had at school and stuff like that. And then I would see less and less of my dad. And I was closer to my dad because he was more like loving. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, very irritated, but then
Like a
again,
good drugs addiction, right?
yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
always was looking for my mom's love. I just remember she never picked me up. She didn't hug me as a kid. I don't remember her picking me up. So, like, the back of my head is it's a little flat. I have like a little curvature. And I
Mm-hmm.
always would tell my mom, I said, you know why my head is flat in the back? Because you didn't pick me up at the crib. You didn't pick me up. You just let me just lay there. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like off and on when I was with her, like she would leave me at home by myself. I remember just crying and stuff like that. And my mom said that she remembered the time where I would tell people like, my mom has baby powder, but it was, cocaine. So
Mm-hmm.
as a kid, I didn't know if that's what it was. But I just said, my mom has baby powder because it would be laid out. And just with not being protected, this would be my first time sharing this. And there was a young girl, I was like 7. I went to a Christian school, but there was this girl in school, won't say her name, but she used to touch me down there. There was nothing like any feeling that I got oh wow, this is amazing or anything. It was just I never did anything. Like she would, and I just when I think back, I'm like I allowed her to do that. And I know kids are curious and stuff like that, but she would do that all the time. And I didn't do anything. And I was just like, I didn't do anything. I didn't speak up for myself. And then my auntie's boyfriend, he wasn't our uncle, but of course, we call him uncle. But he would touch me, and I didn't do anything. But he would touch me, and he would like it was a game, and he would touch me, and he would laugh, and it was so confusing as a kid. It was just because even though it was just how you just know something is not right, it just doesn't feel right. But he was laughing like I wish you could see my face, but you know what I'm saying, like. It's like it threw me off, but you're touching me in a place that you shouldn't be touching a kid.
Right. I'm so sorry you had to have any of those traumatic experiences. And I can't imagine what you had to endure growing up as a child from your younger years to even your teenage years, dealing with all of those childhood traumas and, having a mother with drug addiction and a father who's abusive and dealing with emotional neglect and rejection issues and the whole 9 yards. And I think that it's a beautiful thing that you're going to therapy for that now, because I think adults, especially adults in the Black community, we need to acknowledge the trauma and the childhood wounds that we carry around so that we can be better adults. There's a lot of things that we haven't healed, and it affects our relationships. It affects the opportunities that we go after. It affects our inner self-image. When you were speaking about being touched as a child and not doing anything about it, it's like, learning to give yourself grace because 1, you didn't know any better.
Right.
2, when you're raised in like toxic environments and, you had so many different levels of it, because our primary caregivers and our guardians, like we expect them to be the ones to love and nurture us. So when we're not getting that, our view of love becomes skewed and our view of what's okay becomes skewed. So it's not your fault for any of those things happening. I think it's from the outside looking in, from someone who has just heard bits of your story and your sister's story of your upbringing. I think the fact that you both have such a strong foundation in God, the fact that you both have a strong belief and strong faith at this point in your life, after everything that you've endured and been through, like I know I can't even, how do I say this? Like, it may not be any consolation prize, but the amount of inspiration just from hearing your story. Sometimes I'm sure it may not feel that way, but to hear the strength of what you've endured and who you show up to be in the world today, because some other people may have either given up or allowed that path to take them, down a completely different route. But I think it's beautiful and inspiring and just a true testimony of strength and resilience for, who you are today.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And it's just like, and just in high school, then with that happening, and then in high school. So just now, mind you, now I'm singing, I'm still playing sports and stuff like that. And by the time I got to 11th grade, I was playing sports, but I kind of started letting it go and focus more on it was just music, doing my music and everything like that. But in high school, I ended up getting raped. And even though I love my grandparents, I just couldn't really talk to them. Or I felt I couldn't talk to them like that. Even though my grandmother said, you can talk to me about anything. It was just, you say that, but it was just when I did tell you certain stuff, it didn't roll over. It didn't, it didn't come out like the way I liked the outcome of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It didn't like that super safe place for me. So anyway, I ended up telling my basketball coach, and I ended up going down to the police station and all this stuff like that. And then my grandmother, she came down there. Her first response, it was more of, it wasn't like, "Hey, baby, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" Da 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 da. Why didn't you tell me? You tell your basketball coach. That was the first thing that came out of her mouth. It was because I versus telling her. It was more of like, so that was a shutdown right there. But then
I think the older generation, because of, so here's the way I view it, especially in the Black community. Like our grandparents are so very close to the slave generation.
Yeah.
So they're basically functioning through their own trauma. And they weren't taught to provide the emotional care or, you know, the trauma informed care that the next generation may need. So their responses to things, even if they had good intention, may not come across that way.
And that's what happened with my mom, because it happened to my mom as a kid. She got molested, and she shares a story, so she didn't mind if I share this. But that's what happened. And when my mom had came forward to my grandmother and told her what happened, who it was, her response was, "Oh, he wouldn't do that." So from there, my mom shut down and she didn't talk about anything, and it just made her, it messed her up. So that's why she acted out and lashed out and different things like that. And, you know, when things happen to her, when like it's almost like crazy. It's like a repeat of the things that have happened to her that end up happening to me and everything. And
generational trauma.
Yeah. And so why it had been so tough for me, because, you know, I have my sister, you know, Star, and then I have another sister, our baby sister. Like, even though I'm the big sister and I have an older brother, we all have different dads. When we didn't live together, my brother, he didn't live with us. So I didn't have a big sister to go to, you know what I mean? So it was like, I'm the big sister slash mama, like Star. I raised her till she was 2 years old. Her first word was, because my birth name was Toyana, and I got it legally changed to Myracle because it was a name given to me by a prophet. And, but she would go everywhere with me. I'd take her to basketball practice, take her to the track. Like when she came home from the hospital, like I held her. I wouldn't let her go. Like she was my child. And because mom had used substances with her, you know, and thank God she had the twin, you know, start with a twin. So the twin got practically all of the substances, you know, which caused the twin not to survive. But while I'm even bringing that up, it was like growing up, like I'm trying to be a mama to my mama.
Yeah.
And the mama to my sisters, and I'm not putting the mask on myself. It's like I go to put it on, but they're hurting. Boom. Take it off, put it on them. So it was like I didn't give myself time enough to work on me. So all that stuff built up. And even though I had my music with my outlet, that can only hold you for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so even in high school, after I graduated from high school, so I ended up getting a horrible, abusive relationship. Like there were nice guys. Like I couldn't really go out on dates no way, because couldn't go to the movies. I didn't get to go to my prom.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
And so anyway, so yeah, I ended up getting an abusive relationship right as I graduated from high school. This guy who had been trying to talk to me since I was in 10th grade. He was the drummer. Ninth grade. He played the drums for our youth choir at the church. Now he wasn't no church boy. He was like one of them, you know, hood boys, but he was going to church. He, you know, was there to play the drums. So anyway, he'd been trying to get with me since was it 9th or 10th grade, and I didn't talk to him after I graduated from high school, and ended up talking to him on 4th of July. That's when I came to him. But I know for a fact if I really just loved myself and would have understood I'm dealing with abandonment issues, rejection, the need for love because of the love that I felt like I was missing. Besides, you know, my grandparents, but it's different when it's your parents.
Yeah.
Because I moving kind of quick, so I got to see less and less of my dad. Going back to my childhood, and he died when I was 12. He died of cancer.
Oh wow.
So I didn't have that healthy male figure. My grandfather, he was cool and real chill, very chill. My grandmother, she kind of ran everything. Not that he was a pushover. He just was just real chill. I never heard him raise his voice, but I never heard him really just,
Mm-hmm.
role that I really, really needed to see. And so I didn't see the balance. So it was like either you're too chill and then, or you like my dad, smooth,
Mm-hmm.
charming, little suave, that
Mm-hmm.
pimp type of, you know, think of Homeboy from Empire. That's my dad.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Cookie Lion President. Oh, that's for sure. That is my dad.
Okay. Lucius.
Dad,
Okay.
dad to a T. That is him.
Wow.
So, and now, mind you, her last name is Holloway in the movie. Remember, Holloway last name, but I didn't know anything about drugs or anything, and he introduced me to a lot of stuff. First time ever even smoking weed, he laced it with something. I didn't even know anything was in it.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was just a lot of stuff. Like I didn't know nothing about nothing. I mean, I had been intimate before him, but I never really went in intimately sexually. So he
Mm-hmm.
was really first. So first everything. Yeah, and then I never really shared this publicly with anybody. But the artist Leela James.
Yes.
So she and we were best friends all through high school. We used to sing together. One of these days, I'll really get to share the entire story. But I'm so happy for where she is and stuff like that. But she and we need to have a deep conversation. We do. Even though it was back in high school, we used to sing at all the colleges like Cal State Long Beach and sing it all there. We would always get the pep rallies. We were really popular in high school. We were called One in One Melody. So we had stopped singing with each other after like in high school. I just want to be able for us to one day to be able to sit down and talk about some things. And
Mm-hmm.
but I know she's an amazing person. I know she's for the rights and stuff like that. But that was like a best friend of mine, like all through high school. And during that traumatic time when I told you what happened to me in high school when I got raped, like, those are when you need your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that so just when things happen. So there's just a lot of different things for me when it just growing up with the women in my life that had also built up a wall for me because of the women with my grandmother and my mother, seeing that type of relationship with them never being able to get along. The betrayal or manipulation from starting with a young age, it played a big part in my life. So like I would go stay with my mom, and then I would come back to my grandparents. Come back home. My grandmother would be like, she would say to me, "So what did your mom say? What did she say?" And I'm like, "Huh?" So it was like basically I'm going to like I feel like the spy. So like, what did she
Mm-hmm.
say about me? What did this and this and that? And when I didn't want to say anything, she would say to me, "I'm your grandmother. You could tell me anything." Like that's a form of manipulation. Now that
Yeah.
I'm older, I understand it. And then when I would end up telling her, I'm a kid. So when I end up telling her, because she would say, "I'm not going to say anything," and so I would tell her, but then yet she would go back and tell my mom, and now my mom is mad at me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of different stuff. So
You experienced a lot of trauma as a child, a lot of trauma in your teenage years. Even as you matured and started dating, entering into abusive relationships. How do I say this? Because I know like a lot of musical artists use their music as a form of therapy, a form of healing and coping. Do you feel like your music has helped save you in any type of way?
it definitely has.
Okay, so share with us I guess your musical journey on how, you mentioned, you touched on in the beginning that the voice actually reached out to you through Instagram. I guess share your musical journey, and how your music career gave you a second chance.
So first of all, I met Earth, Wind, Fire. I was like, how old was I? 19? No, 20, 19, 20, around there. I was working at a soul food restaurant, and Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind and Fire used to come in there all the time. And so one of the hosts there was saying, walked up to Philip Bailey and was like, "You ought to hear this girl sing." And so I sang for him, and when I sang for him, he immediately wanted to work with me. So I got to tour with him and everything, and sing with Earth, Wind and Fire. And a lot of people don't know this part because they didn't share this part on the Voice. But so I know he wanted the best for me, and he wanted me to look my best. And I was even a little smaller than what I am even now. But back then they're so focused on the weight and everything, on how you look and stuff like that. So he didn't know I was suffering with certain things. So when we would go on tour, and I would have this image problem as far as how I looked, as far as my body image. I thought I looked fat. But it started all the way back to when I was even just younger. These music producers that I was working with, they were on me about my weight, about wanting to get down. And even though I played sports, I still was thick. But anyway, so when Earth, Wind and Fire and everything, so working with Philip, he was telling me, about my weight and everything. But like I said, he wasn't saying it to put me down. He just wanted me to look my best. And I know that for a fact. So I say that he wasn't like trying to bash me or anything like that. But even though his daughter sometimes would say, "Dad, kind of just, lay back a little bit." So being on the road and stuff and with the dancers, I was and singing and then dancing with the dancers, who that's just what they did. They just dance. They're small and petite, and I'm thicker. I remember when one lady was talking to Philip, and I heard her say that the big girl in the middle.
Oh wow!
But for when she said that, but I was bigger than the other ladies, but I wasn't big. But when I heard that big, it was humongous to me. So I eating disorder when I was on the road, and I still haven't had a chance to talk to him to tell him this. So I stopped being able to go on the road because I would show up late to rehearsal and sound check and stuff like that. What was happening is that everything that I put on, I thought I looked humongous big, and this part I haven't had a chance to really share like this, but I thought publicly. So I would take that off and then try to put something else on. I thought I looked so big, and then by the time I find something I feel comfortable in, I would come to rehearsal, but I was being late, and or I was making myself, throw up, because like if I ate something bad, I would punish myself and would say, "Okay, you want to eat that?" And I would just force all kind of just sweet cakes.
Wow.
And then make myself throw up after I would do that to myself. And nobody knew what was going on and stuff like that. And even though I was had did substances and things like that, I never did anything like that while I was on the road. Never did mess with. I guess it was always, if I did anything, it was when I wasn't on the road. Like if we went out to like a club and stuff like that, I would drink and stuff like that. And there'd be sometimes I did have a little too much to drink. But as far as doing drugs and stuff like that, number one, I'm representing Earth, Wind, and Fire, and whoever I'm representing. I would never want to do that or allow anyone to look, bad or mess up anything. The reason why I was, like I said, it was because of how I was body shaming my own self and everything. So it was tough. And then so he had to sit me down one day, and he was like, "So you're not going to be able to be on the road anymore. I'm still going to work with you," because I was signed to him as well. And so I couldn't be on the road with them anymore. And during that time, I was married. That was another marriage I was in. But anyway, wasn't going to be on the road anymore. But since he was on me about my weight, I was having problems in my marriage and stuff like that. So I started messing with stuff that would help me to lose weight quick. And because I wasn't on the road with them, and we had photo shoot coming up, he gave me creative control over my project. He really believed in me. He
Mm-hmm.
believed in with an artist, like in the way that he worked with me since the artist named Diane Reed. So anyway, so I started doing substances and it got out of control, like out of control. But nobody even noticed except for my grandmother when she was alive. She was like, I don't know what you're doing, but you're looking haggard. But
Wow.
everybody else, oh my God, you're looking. This is what would make it so bad. Because then Philip, he would see me. Everybody noticed I'm losing weight. Oh my God, you're looking great. Like
Mm-hmm.
y'all don't even see. Like, do y'all even see it to the windows of my soul, which are my eyes? You know, all
Mm-hmm.
everybody that get it so small. So of course I'm feeling more crappy. Cause then, well, I lie. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, girl, I feel, or boy, I did the act.
Mm-hmm. You see, society is so
No,
caught up.
acting, you you acting, you acting a fool and lying. No, ain't no act.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the acting side was popular back there, you know. But anyway, but it had gotten so bad and everything. I mean, so bad, and so I had to put myself in a program and
Wow.
myself in the program, and you couldn't call anybody or anything like that. It still is taking me some time to even get over it. All these years later, it's just like I
You're
want to be able
still
to.
processing, right? You
Yeah,
experience so much grief and nothing happens overnight. You're processing, not only are you looking back and reflecting and becoming aware of why you did certain things and why certain things happen, but it's a process. You have to go through this grieving of the old self and this acceptance of your past and who you are. It's a process, and I feel like no matter who you are, how much trauma you've endured, the healing process, I feel like there's never going to be this point where you reach, you're like, okay, I'm healed. It's a
right.
process. It's a daily process.
Yeah, it definitely is a daily process, and I just really appreciate Philip because he, like I said, this man believed in me. He didn't have to take his hard-earned money. He didn't have to introduce me and take me on the road. He didn't have to do any of those things. And when I did do that, I couldn't talk to anybody or anything. And I asked my mom, I said, has Philip called? Because I was able to, when I was finally able to call, I was like, did Philip Bailey, has he called? She was like, oh no, but he had been calling. Like basically, I just disappeared. I didn't tell him that I went to program. So I messed up that opportunity. But if I didn't get the help, I could have been, God forbid, my story like Whitney Houston. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I messed up that, and when I finally did talk to Philip Bailey a month later, and he was just like, "Just get yourself together," but he wasn't working with me anymore, so I messed that relationship up. You know, and I had a project, that an album, and everything that I did. I mostly wrote everything on the project. He had live musicians come in and play over my stuff, and you're talking about you ever did something in your life and you just regret so bad, and that's one of the things. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing. Like who legendary Earth, Wind and Fire, yo. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
And been telling God this for years. I was like, God, please, I want to be in the position where I don't know how much money he spent, but I want to be able to just say, here, come back with a check. Even though he wouldn't even want it. I know he wouldn't, but still, give it to your grandkids. I want to be able to pay the money that he invested. He took his personal money that he did not have to because he believed in me. And he used to always tell me, you know, you could sing, but you don't know that you're beautiful. Like, I didn't think I was beautiful. I
Mm.
used to be ugly as a kid. Like, I just thought I looked like a boy because people tell me I look like a boy. They used to call me He-Man, She-Ra because I was very athletic and strong.
Wow.
Be cruel. But anyway, so the second chance with the boys, I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was going to Bible college out there. And they found me on Instagram, this talent agency. And I didn't even want to audition. I was like,
Wow.
I've been before, I've auditioned for X Factor, American Idol, all that. I never got chosen. You know, I don't want to go through the cattle call. She DM'd me and I DM'd her back and told her no. But then after I did that, still small voice said, give it one more chance. And so I hurried up and DM'd her back and told her, yes, I'll do it. And so I auditioned, and it was just that feeling of just knowing.
Mm-hmm.
The paper that I received after I did the first audition, it didn't say I made it, but for some reason I saw on the paper that I did. So I made it. They flew me to flying me to Los Angeles for the executive audition.
Mm-hmm.
So I auditioned some of the executives. But all my numbers, so my favorite number is 7. 7 is what I kept seeing. And I made it. And even in my hotel, I was on the 7th floor, room 777.
Wow.
When I went for a sound check, I looked over on the row. I looked over on the wall. Boom, number 7. I'm just like, oh, I'm on my flight. It was 7.
You started singing since the age of 7 in the choir?
It's like everything was aligned. So I made it on there, made it to top 11. That was a blessing. And I knew it was just, that was my time. Because it was singers I know that could sing rings around me like, and do all that stuff. But, you know, I guess because of my story and because of my voice, you know, I had a compelling story and my voice. Because people say when I sing, it's like I don't sound like Mary J., but you could hear the pain in my voice.
Yeah.
So
the rawness of the emotion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know, I mentioned earlier that, you know, your story is inspiring, but I would love to know what inspires you the most about what you do. Because
I know that when I sing, that it touches people. It touches people, and it does something for me. And I know people that when there's a certain sound in my voice that it may not be for everyone, but there's a sound in my voice that are for those specific people that my voice resonates with because of the different things that I've been through, from the depression, from childhood molestation, from being raped, from substances, and from being in all those places and overcoming. It just comes out in my voice. You may not know exactly what it is, but it resonates to those people who have been through so much. It ministers to those who need it. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. What advice would you give to a woman who is listening right now that has been through her own childhood traumas and is in need of healing, but hasn't quite taken that step to get therapy or to seek professional support? And if they haven't I would tell them, if they haven't taken that step, to take that step. It's important, and don't put it off. Because I waited for a long time, because sooner or later it's going to catch up to you. And the older that you get, the tougher it really is. I'm just going to be candid. The older that you get, the tougher it is with the healing process. Not saying that you can't heal, because you can. And going through that therapy and sitting down and talking to someone, it's beneficial. Because even the person that I have right now, she's a neuroscientist, but she's a pastor and therapist. So thank God for God and the church. But sometimes we got to go deeper, because sometimes you can just hide behind the church. You don't even really know you're doing it, and hide behind the religion and just say, no, God, just deliver me. And for some people, maybe that works. But there's still some scientific stuff with the mental, the brain, that needs to be really dealt with. You know, stuff that is passed down from generation. I know you can pray and just pray, and the Holy Spirit can do a change and transformation, but you still got to on the reality of it. You got to really deal with that stuff and pinpoint where it stems from. Absolutely. You know, so it's important to sit down and to talk, and it's okay to not be okay. I think it's beautiful that you mentioned that point. You know, we've had a few faith-based women that have come on and talk about the importance of therapy, but I think the fact that you even just broke that down, that yes, you know, it's important to have faith and belief and pray and all those things. And I think that gets to the spiritual level of the issue. I think that we also need to do the work on the physical, mental, and emotional levels. And I think sometimes we focus on one area and neglect the others and wonder why something isn't working. And it's like, we need to
have some form of balance or harmony with all the different levels. So it's important to pray, yes. But the therapy of unpacking and getting the coping mechanisms and the tools, and having someone, like you said, your therapist is also a neuroscience. So one of my mentors, she's also a neuroscience coach, and them understanding how the brain works and functions,
Right.
all of those things that I think sometimes the church is ignorant to.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who, believes in, like, I used to be, I'm going to say for about 15 years straight, I was going to church twice a week. I was one of those, but
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that there are some things that are missing when it comes to understanding other layers of what needs to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely, because it just, everything can't just be frayed away. And I know that sounds like contradicting. I don't mean for it to be contradicting, but you can pray about something, but also God put things in place for us to be better. Everything is just floating on a glory cloud. Like,
Yep.
you know what? I'm messed up. Like, why is this happening? And even in my therapy, the pastor has even shown me that sometimes we use religion to justify some of the stuff, or
Yes.
to Band-Aid and cover it up. I was like,
Yeah.
excuse me?
Yep.
When she said something, like, excuse me? I'm like, what? But she gets down to the core of it. Like,
Absolutely.
I have her information if you want me to give that information for a woman who may want that, or who is in need of it and everything. And she's, like I said, she's a pastor, but she's not always bringing up God this and making it so religious or super spiritual, but she gets down to the meat of it.
Yeah. Listen, the Bible says faith without works is dead, right? So we can believe and we can pray, but we actually need to take action with things. God gives us the tools that we need and the resources to take the action to have, the results that we want. It's more than just prayer.
Right.
Okay, so what I wanted to touch on quickly is, I remember during the pandemic, I believe at some point, I believe it was during the pandemic, where there was a post that you put up that ended up going viral because you had donated your kidney.
Yes.
And I would love to know if you can touch on that story quickly, give us the Coles Notes version of your generosity and the beautiful soul that you are.
So when a mutual friend introduced me to my now husband, because my husband is a designer. He makes clothes. He can redo inside of a home, reupholstery. He can make everything you have on, including your shoes. That's just so yeah. So a mutual friend introduced me to him while I was on the Voice, to help me with like my fashion and everything, and for like to put together a nice little style for me. I had met him over the phone. I was in LA at the time, and then he was in Chicago, and he was just telling me of the stuff that he does. He didn't tell me anything in regards to his health or anything like that. And after I got off the phone with him, my eyes watered, because I just knew something I was supposed to be doing for him. And when he flew me to Chicago to come out there so he can do a fitting, that's when he told me about his kidney disease. So, before all of that, before he even flew me to Chicago here, he asked me what was my why, and that was the only reason why he was going to even work with me, because he's big on somebody knowing what their why is. You know what I mean? It has to be a passion, a big connection to it. It can't just be, because I just want to look cute. Like, what's your why for doing why you're doing what you're doing? So that's what even prompted him to say, you know what, I need to work with her. So anyway, so he told me about his kidney disease, and when he told me that, I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do for him. And I told him that I would donate my kidney to him. He thought I was crazy. My mama thought I was crazy. We didn't even know if there would be a match or anything like that. But I just knew it was something I was supposed to do for him. And so things turned from business to a personal relationship. Like, we started, liking each other in a short amount of time. And so things started turning from business to personal. And I told him, I was like, if things don't work out with us, I'm still giving you the kidney.
Mm-hmm.
He really was like, okay, what's up with this girl? And matter of fact, like I didn't get to, I've never even shared this part. Like he turned my kidney down so many times.
Oh, wow.
He had gotten down, I think, all the way down to like a 10% with his kidney, a 10 or 8%, whatever. It was super low, very super low. And I was like, if you don't take this kidney and live,
Mm-hmm.
because he had been on the waiting list, he hadn't gotten a kidney. And some of his family members, like they couldn't give him the kidney because, they had certain things going on with their body and everything like that. So anyway, after I told him after I got off the show that I would do the testing and everything. So after I got off the show, I did come out here to Chicago, and I went through 8 months of testing because that's when the COVID hit.
Right.
That's when the COVID hit. And so went through all the testing and everything went well. And I had a clean bill of health, and I was able to give him the kidney, and we did our marriage ceremony the day of we did it at the hospital.
Wow.
Where we got the kid, where we had the surgery done.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was, I believe that was when I saw the post on social, and then it went viral on all these other platforms.
Yeah, the shade room. Yeah, somebody must have reached out to the shade room because next thing I know, they DM'd me and said, "Hey, we want to post your video on our page." I'm like, "Okay, as long as you guys make sure you just share who it is,
Mm-hmm.
give the credit." Because I've had people post stuff and I didn't even know that a video of mine was posted
Mm-hmm.
until somebody told me they saw me on a page. So yeah, the shade room, they posted it. And the thing is, it was so many more negative comments than positive, because if it's a woman giving a kidney versus if it was a guy doing it for a woman, they'd be like, "Oh, that's so cute." But then,
Mm-hmm.
with a woman doing, they're like, "Oh, boyfriend, please, he wouldn't even get my lunch."
Like,
It was just stuff negative. It was the most negative stuff. Girl, he gonna Tracy Morgan you,
oh wow.
George Lopez you, and if he doesn't act right, look, we'll repo the kidney for you.
You know what's interesting? Like long before the pandemic, I had a conversation with your sister about the Shade Room and that platform.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the people that follow that page and the things that they're looking for, the gossip and the negativity and the low vibration things. So, sharing good news on that page isn't necessarily something, to be excited about, because those followers, that's not what they're looking for. So they have a negative mindset. So they're not going to receive that good news from a good place.
Right. But the thing is, they were hoping, they were like, "Oh, he's going to leave her." Even when you see the video, look at when she sing this one part, watch his face. Like, look at his face. Like, yeah, he got the look like I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a song that I wrote called Unbreakable Love, I sang that to him, and at the hospital, he asked me to sing that song. He was like, "Baby, can you sing to me before I leave?"
Mm-hmm.
So I sang to him, and the nurse, she videoed it. It was just for memories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just it turned out like that, and then just people thought that we were going to not be together. And of course, relationships, they have it can be shaky in the beginning, because if you two people coming together, you're two different personalities, two different things, two different people that like different things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we like some of the same things. It's a challenge in the beginning, but we've made it through.
Mm-hmm.
And people were expecting us to not be together. They were expecting us to fail.
Well, that's just a beautiful testimony right there, because right now, you guys are married and you're out in Chicago. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So before we go to the final segment of the show, can you tell people where they can stay connected with you online and to learn more about you and hear your music?
You can follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Everything is, all my handles are the same. It's my first and last name, Myracle, M like Mary, Y like yellow, RACLE, and then HOLLOWAY. It's my first and last name, and you'll find me on any of the social media outlets. And
awesome.
you can hear my music. see some of my funny TikTok videos because I'm a comedian. I love to be funny. And there will be some more upcoming shows with the group Jade because I'm still doing some things with them that I'm finishing up. So, and then I'm working on my own my EP. So, yeah. And I
Awesome.
thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you
I
for having
will.
me on here.
I am grateful that you came on and shared your story with us, and I will definitely have all the links to your socials in the detailed section of the episode so they can just click and connect with you directly. They won't have to search too far. I
Okay.
the final segment of the show before we wrap up, it's called A Walk in Her Wisdom, and it's like a rapid fire. I just ask you a couple of quick questions and you can answer in like one word or one sentence, whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why?
It doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, or what you've done. God still has a purpose and plan for your life.
Amen.
And I would
What's
have that
something?
because so many people feel like sometimes it's too late
Mm,
because of their past, because of the things that they've done. And
mm-hmm,
I say that because I can relate to that. I'm too old. My time is up. No, God, sit there. He still has a plan and purpose. Oh, I've messed up too bad. No, he still has a plan. He can take everything that we've done, good and bad,
mm-hmm.
and use it.
Amen. What's something that other people value, but you don't? Like some people may be into, name brand things, but you're not interested in it. Or some people may be into, I don't know.
Yeah, they're definitely name brand clothes. I know that name brand. It it can speak of a certain status,
Mm-hmm.
but my husband is a designer, so
Right.
doesn't trump his what he makes. Because in being with him, like I understand quality and texture and the weight of clothes and just the quality of material. I look at it
Mm-hmm.
totally different. Some people, they just look at the name brand. They're not really paying attention to the quality of it because there's a lot of name brand stuff and the quality of it is
Mm-hmm.
not what it is at all.
I agree. I
So
agree.
yeah, you're paying for a name, and it's
Yes.
a lot of stuff that's coming from one place, from either overseas in China, and it's all coming from the same place, and they just slapping the name on there.
Mm-hmm.
So some people value money more. I mean, money does help to make a difference. Don't get me wrong, but I don't value it in such a way that it's my life. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
having a peace of mind and having people who love me and that
Mm-hmm.
value me over what I have is more important than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love that. What's the worst advice you've ever received?
because it wasn't broken down to me in a way that I needed it, and it has affected me. I've allowed it to affect me through so many years. You can't straddle the fence when it comes to church. You straddle in the fence,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and for a long time, I would be so much in my head just if I even sang an R&B song. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
the church, religion, religious people
Mm-hmm.
have put their isms and their things on. They projected their stuff on people, or I just say on me. Like you can't sing this and you can't sing. For some people, no, they shouldn't sing. But R&B music is not to sing love songs is not a sin. Not going to hell. It's not that it's straddling the fence. It's where are you called? You know,
Yep.
and it's what you're doing. So it used to mess me up so much because I would feel so guilty, the condemnation and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And even now, like I know that my voice is for healing, breaking chains, and to bring hope. And I'm still working through that now because I was singing music. Like God can be in a love song. He can definitely be in a love song. So a story that was given to me, matter of fact, by one of the members from the group, Joy. She was a song. This song, "Don't Walk Away, Boy." That song.
Yep, I know that one.
Yeah. So she had a lady. She just told me the story, and it really brought tears to my eyes. She had this lady come up to her. This was a while back. Not because, oh, you're one of the members of the group J, but it was about the song "Don't Walk Away." Now that song is a love song. Don't walk away, boy. She said that song was playing, and it came on that part. Don't walk away, and it caused her to go back and get her child out of the crib. She listened and said, "Don't walk away." It made her go back and get her baby out of the crib. As soon as she had gotten her baby out of the crib and then walked away, gunshot
Wow.
went off and shot up. They were shooting, and gunshots came into her home and into the crib. If she would have got her baby out of the bed, her child would have been dead.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we put God in this small little box,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So that's some things that I'm even still working through, because it's that mental mind. I don't want to say if it's a mental game, because they really, the people in church, they really believe that that's how it's supposed to be, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's not called to that, because if people in the church, you put on some R&B music and some
Mm-hmm.
love music and songs, so yeah.
You and I could have a whole long conversation about this because I truly believe the same thing because, I spent maybe about 13, 14 years going to the same church. And when I started my spiritual journey, when I started building my relationship with God in the beginning, I felt very boxed in by beliefs of the church. And I had a hard time for a while separating from those beliefs and the projections of the church on my life because I felt that I was called to help the people that don't feel accepted within the church, the people who don't feel
Right,
comfortable walking into the church, but allow them to see the love of God, not only in my life, but how I serve others. And
right,
it
right,
took a long time for me to accept that's okay. Everyone has their place, everyone has their calling, everyone has their ministry.
right. And everybody's not called to preach, to be,
Yeah.
I think that everyone can minister, and it can be through your work of service that you do. That's ministry, on how you
Exactly.
use the gifts that He's given you on this earth. Because what's important to me is when I do believe that there is a heaven. I'm still, if so that we can go deep regarding hell and
Mhm.
things like that, hell, and if it is, I don't even want to focus on that part of it. I just want to do the right thing. I don't
Mhm.
want to get so focused on the brimstone and is it even a hell. I want to focus on the beauty of I'm going to heaven. So I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about that. So if I'm doing
Mhm.
the things that I need to do to live a righteous life, and that at the end of the day, I know that God is smiling at me, then
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot when it comes to the church, because it's like, man,
Yeah,
yeah,
we could have a whole
it's a
episode
lot.
on that another day. I get it.
Yeah, it's a lot. And if you get so focused onto it in a certain way, it can literally drive you crazy if
Mhm.
you allow it. Like, for real, it can just really drive you am I doing this right? I can't do it. Like, it's almost like it's like a prison within itself.
Mhm.
And there should be freedom. And I think I truly believe we put God in this small box because we want it to fit the way that we want. And then there's a form of control that is tied to that. So again, people are putting their stuff on others.
Yes.
And even pastors, even when they
Mhm.
preach sometimes from their own trauma. They
Absolutely. I
project
hear it all the time.
and they project it onto the members, the congregation.
Mhm.
So, and I'm like, some of the stuff that I think that we worry so much about, I'm like, is God even worrying? Is He even even
Yep.
tripping? Is He even taking time to even think about that? Like,
Mhm.
I know He cares about everything that we do, but some of the stuff I'm like, that's just us.
Mhm.
That's us.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have a whole other episode on that, but we'll save that for another day.
Yes, yes.
The last and final question. Describe yourself in one word.
A love bug. I am a love bug. Even though we all have another side of us and pushed or whatever, but overall, I am just a love bug.
I love that. Wow. Thank you so much, Myracle.
Yeah. Like, I love people, and sometimes my husband tells me, you're too kind. I need the other side. The other side does come out, but I don't want her to come out like that. I don't want to resurrect her. But I guess the love bug. I try to see the best in everyone. So
I feel you. I feel you. Honestly, I appreciate you taking the time to share your story. I appreciate everything that you put out on social and, how you interact and how you share and show that love. Just thank you so much, Myracle, for sharing your testimony with us. Sometimes it's not easy to talk about our traumatic past and the things that we've been through, but you're here today. You've survived every adversity that has come to you thus far. And I just pray that you continue to be blessed and have an overflow and abundance of blessings for everything that you are doing. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to find out what other things that you do outside of the podcast.
I do coaching. I'm a certified mindset coach. So it's close to, the neuroscience and stuff like that. So it's helping people to basically thrive, through habits and mindset.
Yes, you definitely do that. And I'm going to definitely, I'm going to make sure I send people your way. Most definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Definitely. Yeah.
And let me know. I know you said you're working on some stuff with Jade and you want to work on a gospel album. Like, when that stuff is ready to be shared, let me know, and, I'll share it on social media and stuff for you and help any way I can.
Okay. And then if there's something you want to do if you ever want to do a podcast or talk to the ladies, I can also set that up.
Oh, I would love that.
So,
I would love that.
Sure. No problem.
To all you legacy leavers out there, until next time, subscribe on all platforms. Don't forget to rate the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. And thanks to each and every single one of you who continue to tune in each week and help the show globally rank in the top 1.5% most popular shows out of over 2.8 million podcasts. We would love if you would join the community of legacy leavers and sign up for our weekly newsletter at awalkinmystilettos.com, and you can receive a free copy of the Gratitude Journal. And you can also grab a copy of any one of my personal development books available online everywhere. I'm going to challenge you. If you can think of 5 women that would receive value from hearing Myracle's testimony today, please share it with them. Feel free to screenshot this week's episode and let us know what resonated with you. You can tag myself at The Real McKinney Smith. You can tag Myracle Holloway. That's MyraCleHolloway. And continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.